Summers is slamming President Trump's so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. In an opinion piece for the New York Times earlier this month, Summers wrote, quote, "I don't remember on any past 4th of July being so ashamed of an action that my country had just taken." And Secretary Summers joins us now. He also served, of course, as the director of the National Economic Council for President Obama. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being with us this morning. Let's just dive right in. You made it clear that this piece of legislation, now law of the land, makes you ashamed to be an American. Tell us why.
Because we're a good people that stands together and protects people. And what this bill do, it did things like cutting taxes on the top 0.1% of the population when they passed huge sums of money to their kids, and financing it by saying people couldn't get rides to rural hospitals, by saying that when somebody had to leave a rural hospital, they'd get a taxi cab voucher to nowhere because there wouldn't be rehab facilities, by knocking millions of people off of Medicaid in ways that down the road will mean that more people will die. And for what? In order to finance even more tax cuts for the wealthy, passing money on to their children. This is just not the kind of country that we are, and it's gonna have terrible consequences for very vulnerable people. That's part of it. But here's the other part of it. We're all gonna pay more for our health care because hospitals are gonna end up taking these people and passing on the bills to everybody else. We're all gonna have a harder time getting care when we need it, because patients who are in these hospitals won't be able to be discharged if there's no place for them to go. We all are going to have a harder time because there are going to be fewer hospitals, because hospitals in rural areas are going to be forced to close. So this is really delivering a big blow to the healthcare prospects for most citizens, the biggest blow to the people who are most vulnerable and the people who take care of the people who are most vulnerable. And for what? It's a terrible mistake.
And Mr. Secretary, to your point, so many of those, the most vulnerable, are going to be affected are Trump supporters, Trump voters, who, he is now, many would say, has betrayed. So, but you've outlined nicely the near-term effects about this, but also this bill, per every economist, including nonpartisan, the Congressional Budget Office suggests it's going to add an extraordinary amount to the nation's deficit and debt. How are we going to all, in our potentially generations to come, going to shoulder this?
We're going to shoulder it by paying higher interest rates. Mortgage rates for everybody are going to be higher. Car loan rates are going to be higher. We're going to invest less, which means we're going to be less competitive with China because of this. And look, a day of reckoning may come. We can't say when it will come, but we're certainly making our markets more vulnerable. We're raising the chances of an event like the one Britain had 2 or 3 years ago with Prime Minister Truss, when they pursued wildly irresponsible policies. We're even raising the risk of an accident like happened to our whole economy and cost trillions of dollars to American workers during 2008. Look, here's just a basic truth of economics. You can't use borrowing as an alternative to tax raising or spending cutting. What borrowing does is postpone other adjustments, and because you have to pay interest as well, it means that the adjustments are ultimately going to be bigger and that much more painful. And so it's a mistake for our economy. It's frankly a huge gift to China, because there's a very profound question that every American should ask themselves. How long will the world's greatest debtor remain the world's greatest power? And do we need to remain the world's greatest power in a dangerous world?
Thought-provoking comments there from former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers. Mr. Secretary, thank you. And more on this in his latest op-ed for the New York Times, which is available to read online right now.